Alright, let's talk Canada. You know Canada, the place upstairs from America. The one that's always saying sorry, even when you bump into. They've got maple syrup on tap, healthcare that doesn't require a GoFundMe, and a reputation for being, well, incredibly overwhelmingly, almost suspiciously nice. It's like a whole country decided to be the human equivalent of a golden retriever. You just want to pat its head and give it a Timbit. This politeness is legendary, a global brand. It's the country everyone thinks is just too darn wholesome for any real drama, especially the messy, uncomfortable kind. But here's the kicker, folks. Behind that veneer of Mounties and Moose, there's a conversation brewing. A conversation that's a little less sorry and a lot more seriously. It turns out, even in the land of not everything is as pristine as a fresh sheet of ice on a hockey rink. There are whispers, then slightly louder conversations, and now full-blown comedy sets about things like racism. Yes, you heard me. Racism. In Canada, I know, it's like finding out your super chill yoga instructor secretly listens to death metal. It just doesn't quite compute with the image, does it? Enter the comedians. Specifically, comedians like Ashwyn Singh. These are the folks who are grabbing the microphone and saying, "Hey Canada, we need to talk." They're using humor, that incredible social lubricant, to slide into some pretty uncomfortable DMs. Singh, an Indian immigrant navigating the Canadian dream, or sometimes the Canadian wait, what was that? Moment, has become a vital voice. He's not just telling jokes, he's holding up a mirror to the nation. And sometimes the reflection isn't as flawlessly polite as everyone assumes. It's a bold move, especially in a place that prides itself on its niceness. So how does a country that's practically synonymous with decency grapple with the R word? How does it react when someone like Ashwyn Singh steps on stage and starts unpacking experiences that don't quite fit the national narrative? This isn't about trashing Canada, it's about making it better, more honest. It's about acknowledging that even the nicest kids on the block have some stuff to work through. And comedy, particularly Singh's brand of it, is proving to be one of the most effective and surprisingly entertaining ways to start that very necessary, very Canadian, and very overdue conversation. Now let's zoom in on Ashwyn Singh. This guy isn't just cracking jokes about bad poutine or the eternal struggle of winter. No, Ashwyn is diving headfirst into the deep end. He's taking his personal experiences, the good, the bad, and the did that just happen, and weaving them into comedy gold. Think of him as a cultural alchemist, turning moments of awkwardness, ignorance, and outright racism into laughter. And not just any laughter, but the kind that makes you think, the kind that sticks with you long after the show is over. He's the friend who tells you a wild story and you're laughing, but also, you're like, whoa. Canada's image, as we've established, is pretty progressive. It's the country that often gets held up as the shining example, the good North America. And in many ways it is. But Singh's comedy gently or sometimes not so gently pokes holes in that perfect facade. He talks about the difference between the Canada you see in the tourism brochures and the Canada he sometimes experiences. It's a land of opportunity for sure, but it's also a land where someone might ask him where he learned to speak English so well. Spoiler, it was probably in a classroom just like you. The beauty of Singh's approach is how he disarms you. He'll reel you in with a relatable observation about immigrant life, the struggles of adapting to a new culture, or even just the universal confusion of IKEA instructions. Then bam, he'll hit you with a punchline that lands right on a microaggression or a subtle form of bias you might not have even recognized before. He makes these uncomfortable truths digestible, even enjoyable, which is a superpower in itself. He's not lecturing, he's sharing, and in that sharing there's an invitation to see things from a different perspective. He's part of a wave of comedians who are redefining what Canadian comedy can be. It's not just about self-deprecating humor about the weather anymore, it's about identity, belonging, and the sometimes bumpy road to true multiculturalism. Ashwyn Singh stands out because he does it with such sharp wit and an undeniable charm. He makes you laugh at the absurdity of it all, even as he's pointing out the very real issues that lie just beneath Canada's famously polite surface. It's a delicate balance, but he walks that tightrope like a pro. Let's talk microaggressions, those little paper cuts of racism. They're not the big obvious wounds, but man do they sting. And they add up. Ashwyn Singh is a master at dissecting these. He takes those seemingly small comments, those innocent questions, and blows them up on stage for everyone to see. You know the type, your English is so good, or the classic, but where are you from? As if India, then Toronto isn't a complete enough answer. He turns these cringeworthy moments into comedic bits that resonate because so many people, especially immigrants and people of color, have been there. But Singh doesn't just stop at the small stuff. His comedy often subtly and sometimes overtly connects these everyday microaggressions to the bigger picture, systemic racism. He'll tell a story about a weird interaction at a grocery store and then, with a clever turn of phrase, link it to broader issues in hiring, housing, or even how history is taught. It's like he's showing you the individual pixels and then zooming out to reveal the entire, sometimes unsettling image. He makes you see the pattern, the underlying current that many prefer to ignore. One of the most powerful things about his act is the relatability. He might share a story about his parents trying to navigate Canadian customs, or his own experiences trying to explain Indian culture to bewildered Canadians. These aren't just immigrant problems, they're human stories of trying to fit in, of being misunderstood, of cultural clashes that are both hilarious and poignant. For instance, he might joke about the sheer terror of explaining to his parents why he wants to pursue comedy instead of, say, engineering, a universally understood pressure for many, amplified by the immigrant experience. This relatability is key. It draws everyone in. And that's the genius of it. He uses humor not just to entertain but to educate. He's not wagging his finger, he's inviting you to laugh with him and in doing so, to think alongside him. The laughter becomes a bridge. It allows people who might otherwise get defensive to actually what's being said. He's showing that you can talk about serious, painful topics like racism without losing your audience, without making it a lecture. In fact, you can make them laugh so hard they almost forget they're learning something incredibly important. So, what's the end game for a comedian like Ashwyn Singh? Is it just about getting the laughs? Not quite. Beyond the punchlines and the applause, there's a deeper message. It's a message of unity, but not a superficial, let's all just get along kind of unity. It's a unity built on understanding, on acknowledging the different realities people face, even within the same country. He's using his platform to say, hey, we're all in this Canadian boat together, but some of us are definitely getting splashed more than others, and maybe we should talk about why. His comedy becomes a catalyst for conversation. You leave his show or watch his clips online and you to talk about it. You want to share the jokes, sure. But you also find yourself mulling over the points he made. He makes these topics, which can often feel heavy or taboo, accessible. Suddenly, discussing microaggressions or the nuances of cultural identity doesn't seem so daunting. It's like he's given everyone permission to open up, to be a little more honest about their own experiences and observations. This is comedy as a social tool, and that leads directly to his call to action, which is often implicit but incredibly powerful. Share your own stories. When Singh shares his experiences with racism, whether it's a blatant act or a subtle slight, he's not just venting. He's creating a space for others to say, me too, or I saw that happen, or even, I never thought about it that way before. He's encouraging a collective sharing, a building of narratives that can challenge the status quo and push for a more genuinely inclusive Canada. It's about recognizing that these aren't isolated incidents but part of a larger tapestry. Ultimately, Ashwyn Singh's comedy is doing vital work. It's entertaining, yes, it's incredibly funny, absolutely, but it's also deeply informative and, dare I say, important. He's showing Canada that you can laugh your way to a better understanding of yourselves, that difficult conversations don't have to be devoid of joy. By sharing his truth with humor and heart, he's inviting everyone to listen, to reflect, and hopefully, to join the conversation. Because a funnier Canada, a more thoughtful Canada, and a more equitable Canada, that's a punchline we can all get behind. Keep talking, folks. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more content.